Hey there! Welcome to day 3 of the 10-day Health, Wealth, and Happiness Challenge. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback and everything that's been going on in the community so far. One of the questions I've been getting asked is, Charlie, when are you going to cover the wealth part? The financial wealth and the wealth of having great relationships and those kind of things. And don't worry, we'll get there. It's really important that we lay an awesome foundation first, then we can roll into all that kind of mastery as well. So today what I really wanted to go over is making sure, first of all, that you're going through and you've already put in play maybe a new sleeping habit, maybe you're drinking a little bit more water, and those kind of things. Be sure to share below if you have put those things in play and how it's making you feel. Hopefully, of everything that we're doing, it's making you feel just a little bit better. Even thinking about those things, really important towards mastery in that space. One of the things that I love to do is make sure that, as we move along in life, we're really reaching out and doing things, just little things, little tweaks, little tunings, whatever you want to call it, that help us move forward in the best possible way towards having more presence, more care, more compassion with everybody we're with. And making sure, as we're going to talk about in the happiness section, that we're with people that we really love and that we really help. And most importantly, that we're surrounding ourselves with great people too. Last night I was talking to my daughter and I said, if I only knew in the 90s what I know today, I would have been a much happier person over the last 15, 20 years. But I'm so happy that I discovered it now. And I didn't go through life the way I used to live, where I wasn't eating so well, I wasn't paying attention to my sleep and all those kind of things. So if you haven't guessed it yet, today's topic is eating. I never thought I'd be the guy that would have powdered drinks or blended shakes, those kind of things. But what I'd love to do with you right now is go through what I like to call, or what we in the high performance coaching world call, the high performance shake. And I have this at least 5 times a week. And it's kind of like a whole meal, but sometimes I'll have like a half a sandwich or something with it. And it's really important you understand this. What I found, just for trying to reach high levels of energy only, is eating nutrient-rich food. I never made the distinction on what I was eating. I kind of knew that if I had a salad, that was good, but I would have a salad maybe 5% of the time. But I never made the distinction of what I was eating until I watched the movie Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, that documents this guy from Australia's journey through being what I would call having glazed face, which, what I'll do is I'll put a picture in right now for you that shows me with glazed face, as I call it, versus me as you see me right now. And all glazed face is when I was eating a very processed food diet and one where I was drinking a lot of soda and not hydrating right. You'll see this like glaze, it's hard to explain, but you'll see it in my face versus how it is now, where I feel present, healthy, and vibrant. It's a whole difference. So with that all being said, I never understood the power of nutrient-rich food until I started having it. And it was like a kind of a huge shift for me because I'm very much the bread guy. I've always been known for loving breadsticks and all those kind of things. That's kind of where I gravitated in that space. But when I got into the idea of having nutrient-rich food, it made a huge change in my daily energy. So today it's my goal to have nutrient-rich food 80% of the time, and 20% of the time I can eat what I call old school. Eat the old stuff. Although what happens is this, once you start eating nutrient-rich food, you really don't want to eat the old school way because it makes you feel like not so good. So here we go, are you ready? So first of all, let's kind of define what nutrient-rich food is. Primarily it's veggies, fruits, and nuts. And so the reality of it is putting more of that into your life, taking out some of the other things. As far as the high performance shake, it has 3 main components to it. The liquid component, and the way we make it is I use a big Tervis tumbler and I have 1/3 of it filled with almond milk, 1/3 of it filled with coconut water, and then the last 1/3 is just water. The other side to it is the powders part. And I was never the powder guy. I was never the kind of guy that would be like, I'm gonna put this powder drink together and drink that. So what the powders do they are plant-based powders, not synthetic-based. It's really important you make that distinction. If you have any questions about that or want more clarity about that, read the book Foodist by Dara Pinna-Rose, I believe is her name. She just released this book, I would say, within the last year, and I read it, and it was like the best summation of nutrient-rich food and what it does for your body and how to build your lifestyle around, or she calls it your health style. And it's a really, really great read. I'll put a link to it down below. But Foodist really goes through that whole idea of make sure that whatever you're putting in your body is plant-based. So the powders that I recommend and use as part of our high performance shake are the Vega 1 all-in-one nutritional shake supplement. And I put in about a half of a scoop of that. And then I also put in what's called Amazing Meal. It's a potent blend of organic protein, greens, fruits, and veggies. and I put about a half a scoop of that in too. On days where I'm going to work out and I need a little more protein, what I do is I use this, which is the Vega 1 protein mix, and it really helps make sure I bump up levels of protein for exercising and those kind of things. So we have the first component, which is the liquid part, and then the powder part, and then the rest I use organic spinach. That's kind of my base. Sometimes I use kale, and I use strawberries. They're available, and I also use blueberries, but you can put in any kind of fruits that you want. So the idea is, for me, is to fill up the blender with spinach, and then put in the powders, and then put in the strawberries and blueberries, and then put in the liquid on top of that, blend it up, and drink it. The first time you drink it, you might be like, ugh, it's not that tasty, especially if you don't like spinach and those kind of things. So you might find other things that you like, or you grow into it. I grew into it, and now I just love it. I've been doing this for over a year, and no matter where I go, they have these little packets, and it's great because I take those with me and I'm able to sustain that lifestyle. Even using that blender bottle that I talked about yesterday, I'm able to put the powders in there and shake it, and then get at least the plant-based goodies, if you will, the minerals and all the things that I would never usually get. I get that out of the blender bottle, and it works out really, really well. So that's the high performance shake. I'll go through and make it and clip back to you. All right, I've got everything in my blender. Now I'm gonna give it the blend, and we'll have some fun with this. All right, there it is. It's all blended up. It's time for a little bit of a taste test. Let's go through and pour some into our big old cup here. See what we have. Oh yeah. You know what I find is the vanilla in the protein powder is really helpful at really giving it a little bit of a sweetness, a little bit of a depth of flavor in that world. You know, the question I want you to ask yourself is this: are you putting in to your diet nutrient-rich food on a daily basis? Even just a little bit. That's where I started, and it's really important you think about that as you move through life. That's one of the biggest things I've found for energy alone. Differentiating the levels of energy I have is starting my day with this and making sure I sustain it that way. Also, later at night, making sure that I'm not eating heavy meals, so sometimes I'll move those to lunch. Works out real well. So the big three distinctions that I want to make for you are this. First, make sure you're eating nutrient-rich food, if possible, 80% of the time. Second, make sure you've created your environment so that it supports that. You know, what's in your cupboards, what's in your refrigerator, all those kind of things. I had to get rid of what I loved, which were pretzels, and bring in other kinds of snacks. One of the things that I really like that kind of fills that need of a salty pretzel snack are these seaweed chips or seaweed chunks or whatever they're called, seaweed snacks. And it's really helped me, and they're only like 30 calories, but it really helps me kind of quench that idea of, you know what, I'm really in the mood for a salty snack. There's another type called sea snacks. These are really good too, same story. The other thing that I do is I always have little bars with me to make sure that about every few hours I'm able to get in and have a little snack. These organic food bars are great. They're actually a meal replacement. That works out real well if I'm giving a presentation or I'm going out and doing something in that space to make sure that I have the energy and sustain that energy. Big thing that happens that has thrown me sideways in history is running out of energy and getting hungry, and then just downward spiral happens from there. Real important you know that. The final thing I wanted to go over with you today was this, and that is making sure that you have a way to measure success. One of the things that I did starting in January of 2012 is I created this weight sheet, and I've made it available for you below. And I've also put down there my January through August, I believe it is, weight sheets that show you exactly how I lost the weight and how I've kept it off for years now. It works out real well, but the reality was this, and this is the distinction that I made when I was doing my weight sheets, is that I'd weigh myself first thing in the morning before I ate anything or drank anything, as soon as I got up. If I was up from yesterday, I wrote in red. If I was down, I wrote in black. And writing in red made the huge difference for me to say, hey, what did I do yesterday? Most of the time, if it wasn't my cheat day that took me into the red, it was because I ate something salty and I had water weight on me. I wasn't eating big meals in that world, but it was just something salty that kept weight on me in the water weight world. If you want more distinction on that, there's another great book called J.J. Virgin's Virgin Cleanse. That was a book that I worked through at the beginning of this year that really helped me understand that I have two sort of food allergies. They're called food intolerances. One's towards gluten and one's towards one of my favorite things, which isn't my favorite thing anymore, peanut butter. And so I was able to clean that out of my system. But the reality is, going back to the weight chart, is that doing that work, you'll see on my weight charts how I would eat right 80% of the time, and then usually Thursday through Saturday I'd have a cheat day, and you see my weight spike for a few days after that, but it always went down 1 to 3 pounds a week as I moved through time. That's how I lost the 40 pounds over 8 months. It was that. But I wasn't depriving myself from the stuff that I love, like a good Wendy's hamburger with French fries. No, I didn't drink soda, but you get the idea. I was still going back and having some of the food that isn't so nutrient rich, but reality of it was I was able to enjoy life and not be on a diet, just a lifestyle change, and then make sure that I was moving towards my goal of losing weight, but sustaining that while keeping high levels of sustained energy. That's the whole reason I recommend nutrient-rich food, because you'll know the people that you know that are all about nutrient-rich food are the ones that are saying, you know what, I have this great level of energy, or they just show it to you. Well, I hope you found today's session helpful. If you'd like, go through and share one thing below that you're committed to in terms of bringing maybe more nutrient-rich food into your life, or if you feel like you have that mastered, share one thing that might be inspiring to others in terms of bringing nutrient-rich food into their life and maybe how you did it or something along those lines. Remember, I'm here to improve your life authentically, purposefully today. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Take care.